Danny watches a lot of television and movies. John does not. Listen in as she tells him about what she's watching, and he tries to make sense of it all. Welcome to Watching My Stories with Dhani and John.
Hello, everyone.
Hi, everybody.
Welcome to Watching My Stories.
Did you forget what we were doing?
Yes.
Okay.
I'm Danny.
And I'm John.
And welcome to day 452 of quarantine.
Yes, year 7.
Year 7.
Otherwise known as May.
Yeah. But we are in May. We made it to May. I'm going to try and lift this up. Sorry,
Yeah, there were many points during April where I wasn't sure May was ever going to come.
See, I feel the opposite. I feel like March lasted for years and April flew by.
April was worse for me.
Okay.
I don't know why.
Okay. Well, I have a lot to talk about. A lot of shows ended. And I know we're going to have a huge discussion when we get to Afterlife. And then I do have some shows that I've started this week that I'd like to point people in that direction. Because again, quarantine, we're all looking for stuff to watch. Mm-hmm. So let's just get right into it. And I'm going to go pretty quickly on some things. And then because I know we're going to have this huge discussion. So, and then in our Actors Corner, everyone, John chose Woody Harrelson. So we're going to talk about him today.
Yeah.
All right. So I only have one movie to talk about, and it's actually it was on HBO, called Bad Education with Hugh Jackman and Allison Janney. Annalee Ashford was in there. Ray Romano. There's a bunch of people in there.
What was it called? Bad
Education.
Huh.
And this was the telling of the true story in Roslyn, New York, on Long Island, which the school administrators ended up embezzling about $12 million, and which was the biggest that's ever happened in the country and all that. And so they tried to tell the story. It was not well done. It was not like they didn't really explain like how they were doing it or how it really got started. Hugh Jackman plays like the school like dean type thing of this Roslyn district that oversees, elementary and middle school and high school and all that. And they're like number 4 in the country for grades and all that sort of stuff. And so they would have huge budgets and building things for the school and all of that sort of stuff because they did supply what they said they were going to. The kids there were doing well and going on to great colleges. And so the town would approve these school budgets that sometimes were really lavish. So this school administration, we got to see only two pieces of it, 2 people who were doing it. But anyway, my point was I felt like they were really trying to make Hugh Jackman's character into this really, really horrible person. And I'm sure he was, obviously, because of what he was doing. But he was also striving to get these kids to do better at the same time, So it's like there were 2 sides to the coin, but it felt like they were, I don't know. It felt like they were just making his, like he was gay. They were trying to make it like he was having an affair on his husband and like these things that to me, that's not what makes you a bad person. What makes you the bad person is because you're stealing all this money from taxpayers, right? So it was like, I don't know. Maybe I was just too sensitive about it. It was weird. And he also took down, like Allison Janney went down first and he took her down and didn't like, try and help her more than he could have. And so it was, I don't know. I kept waiting for kind of a moment and I never got that moment. Now, eventually the guy did go to jail. A few of these people did, but because of the way the laws are written, this guy, Dr. Tassone, he is still receiving his pension of $173,000 a year. After stealing all that money, he's still basically taking the taxpayers' money. And most of these administrators are still getting their pensions as well. You would think there would be something in a clause that says, if you go to jail or, if you embezzle or if you anything against the school system itself, you forfeit your pension. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's just like big business, CEOs,
Right,
Wall
golden
Street, that sort of
parachutes,
thing.
yeah.
Bad behavior, systemic bad behavior is very rarely a deal breaker.
Right,
Yeah,
right. Yeah. So anyway, wasn't a great movie. I watched it last weekend, again, trying to find
I didn't
things to
even
watch.
know.
Yeah.
So
and again, that's really the only movie I've been going back, like I watched Endgame again, and I'm just trying to I watched Charlie's Angels again, of course, like I'm filling time with that sort of stuff more than watching newer movies. There are a bunch I do want to watch that are on demand. I just haven't gotten around to it this week, so
okay.
we'll get to that. All right, so let's get back into television. Will and Grace ended.
Okay.
Second run. This was 3 seasons in this second run. After this season, I was glad to see it go. I was not happy with the ending of the first run. It bothered me that the two of them were no longer friends and they basically were apart for 18 years. That bothered me. But again, when this new series started, we were told to forget that whole last season. And okay, fine, whatever. When it came back, the first 2 seasons of this return were hysterical, wonderful, felt like we were right back in it. Nothing had skipped a beat, all of that. But this third season was struggling, and I think a lot of that had to do with what was happening on set.
Yeah, that I was surprised to find out about that.
Yeah, I felt like even the writing wasn't that great. Of course, there are good moments all around, but it felt like, again, now in this last season, Grace gets pregnant, Will decides to have a baby. It was all the same sort of weird stuff, and it was like, really, at 50 years old, that's what you're gonna do? It was just, it all felt very
right.
Just slapped together. And I think, and it could be just that everyone was kind of on edge because of what was happening within the cast, and for me, honestly, that took the joy away from watching it as well, knowing that they weren't getting along. So the last episode, there were a lot of funny moments, and it was all mainly Karen and Jack. The writers really kind of threw a lot at them that we've known them for, or things that from history they brought back up with the two of them. So the two of them had a great finale, and again, it was all rushed. Like at the end, Grace goes into labor, but they never spoke about Will's baby. I was just like, well, what about his kid? When's that baby going? So it was very weird. So while I loved the return of it for the first 2 seasons, it did go downhill, and what are you going to do? But I still watch Will and Grace all the time. I think it's one of the most genius shows there ever was. So there you go.
Okay.
Another show that ended, I spoke about briefly on our last one, was Little Fires Everywhere.
Yep.
So that was only 8 episodes, I believe. This was with on Hulu with Reese Witherspoon, Kerry Washington, and Pacey. Joshua Jackson, also known as Joshua Jackson. And this was an interesting story, and I'm not really sure what I was supposed to get out of it. I'm sure there's a lot of, there are a lot of things to talk about. It's set in the 90s. It's set in Shaker Heights, Ohio, where there's a lot of, there's a very big gap between classes. And I think there's a lot to talk about there, but I couldn't get past how horrible the characters were. Reese Witherspoon and Kerry Washington, they played very awful mothers, very awful people, really, in the long run. And so it was hard for me because I wasn't rooting for either one. I wanted both of them to fail. I wanted both of their demises to just drop down and I couldn't care less what happened to them. It was just like, get the kids out from under them, and they need to just kill each other. It was, so I was having a real hard time kind of, sticking with, I think, what the underlying theme was. It was the difference in classes and white privilege for sure. And at the end, the kids kind of grasped that, they kind of understood, oh my God, we are living in this protective bubble, and they burned down the house. And I think they realized, because Kerry Washington and her daughter come into this town and kind of infiltrate this family and cause a lot of drama. And I think the kids didn't really understand their privilege. They just didn't, and which a lot of people do. So that aspect of it, there is a lot to talk about. I think it'd be interesting to watch with someone who you could have those conversations with and that sort of thing. But I feel like for me personally, it was overshadowed by these horrible characters. And I mean, when I say horrible, like, yeah, Reese Witherspoon, I've never seen her be this awful before. It was really hard, actually. It was really hard to watch the last episode. And I read that she said she wanted to go there, that she wanted to say the horrible things that she says to her own children. And that's okay. That was part of the character, but it was still really, really hard to watch. But again, and I think there's another conversation there in people having kids that really don't want them, and then you have to live with that choice, the rest of your life. And don't take it out on the kids. It's not their fault. You're the one who decided to still have them. And so there was a lot of resentment in her for that. So anyway, it was very interesting. The kids were all really good. Everyone in it was really good, and it was really well done. And I was very into it. I was very, I looked forward to it every week. So it's not like I'm sitting here saying, oh, I couldn't watch it because they were so horrible. But it was definitely the biggest aspect of it for me coming out of it was, oh, they didn't change. Like, there really wasn't much of a change in these people, or it changed too late for me personally. Yeah. So it was interesting.
Did you enjoy it?
I did enjoy it. I don't think it's one that I would go back and watch again, because it is a little too hard to watch, but I did enjoy it every week. I was enjoying the whole story, and there's a mystery to it, and I enjoyed that sort of thing. So this was based off of a really huge book that was a big seller, and they kind of left it open that there could be a second season. I hope there isn't, because again, they keep doing that. They keep doing something based on a book that's really just supposed to be the one season, and then they have to come up with a whole new story for a second season. Just stop. Just leave it alone. Yeah. Come up with something else. It'll be fine. But both of them were at the top of their game for sure.
Okay.
Yeah. So that's on Hulu. Little Fires Everywhere. The next series that ended is Better Call Saul. Well, just the season ended. We have one more season, which at this point could be 2 years from now before we get it. So who knows?
Yeah, right.
So this season was much better for me. I don't know if people remember, but last season I was just frustrated because they were focusing so much on all these other characters and not enough on Saul, that I was frustrated because I want to know more about him and how he really turns into Saul Goodman and becomes the Saul Goodman we know in Breaking Bad. The beginning of this season did start out that way for me, so much so that I stopped watching, and episodes were piling up. And so I would get 2 or 3 episodes, and then I would sit and watch it, and then 2 or 3 episodes until the end, where I literally had 4 episodes to watch for the last 4 episodes. And I'm so glad I decided to, because honestly, the second half of the season was all about Saul and all about Kim, which of course we're all dying to know what really happens with Kim, because she's not around. We don't see her in Breaking Bad. So they did a really good job this year of the season of giving us more about Saul, everyone around him. We still see everyone around him, but it was much more about him and really about Kim. And the way they left it is, it definitely seems like she's going, she's always kind of been this more upstanding lawyer trying to do right things or that. And it sounds like now she's going to come down to Jimmy's level a bit, and she wants to kind of cut some corners and do some things to take some people down, which is very interesting. So now we got to wait and wait and wait to see what the two of them are really going to be able to pull off and what happens to her.
Right.
So in this last season, it'll be interesting to see. I know this show will come back. I know there are a lot of shows who aren't going to be able to make it through this quarantine, and those production companies or, whatever, they're just not going to bring shows back. It's not worth it. But this show we know will come back no matter what. So it'll be fine.
Yeah.
Okay, so that's Better Call Saul. Obviously, if you haven't watched it, you should be. But I would also recommend watching Breaking Bad first. It's all on AMC. Next show, the first season of a show called Breeders ended. This was on FX. It's an English show. It was created by Martin Freeman and stars Martin Freeman, and his wife is played by Daisy Haggard, who, if you don't know, I had just spoken about another show she did called For Life that was on just a few months ago that I really loved that show of hers. But we first were introduced to her on episodes. She was the person who just would, yeah, she didn't really have any lines. She would just groan.
Yeah.
But she's great. She's great in all these things. So I first started watching this show because I thought it looked like it was a funny show about people just dealing with their kids. And in a way it is, and exhibiting how difficult it is to have kids. You're a normal person and your kids drive you crazy. And, and Martin Freeman, his character is definitely one that's, again, it's a little hard to watch, but it's also very understandable. He loses it. His kids send him time after time after time, and then finally he breaks and he just goes off on his kids, yelling and screaming at them. And at first you think it's kind of funny, and then when you start to see it over and over again, you realize, oh, okay, I think this guy has a problem. But it's about the couple themselves, how they deal with each other while they're dealing with the kids. Like, their kids are like, I don't even know, like 5 and 7 or something like that. And their parents come into play, of course, because then your parents are always in your space. And how are you going to work? Like, she ends up getting a job that takes her away during the week, and so then he has to take care of the kids during the week. And so it's just it feels very normal life. I'm sure a lot of people who watch this who have kids, which obviously I don't, so I don't have these discussions, but I'm sure people who do would watch this and completely relate to it, because there's nothing fanciful about it. It's very normal. And then the last 2 episodes were actually really gut-wrenching. The boy comes down with encephalitis, and they're in the hospital, and they do a great job of, throughout the whole series, of going back in time before they had kids or when they first met, and how they talked about having kids or what they thought would be the case when they had something or whatever. And so especially when the boy was in the hospital, they kept remembering back to him being born or that sort of stuff. And it was very nerve-wracking, but also very heartwarming to see them come together. And even then, not really even come together, again, because she was in Berlin for her job. And so then there's still an argument in the hospital about that. And you were away and all this. Right. So anyway, it was very interesting, and I'm looking forward to a second season for sure. It's obviously the two of them are fantastic, and Michael McKean played her dad. He did die in the series. Just good people involved, and interesting. So again, if you have kids, or I think it's definitely worth checking out. It's on FX, so I'm sure it's on, it's probably on Hulu or FX on demand. And there's a lot of ups and downs in it. I really enjoyed it. Yeah. So that's Breeders on FX.
Okay.
Next show that ended, I think if you remember back to the beginning of this season in the fall, I talked about my favorite shows that I was really enjoying, and one of them was Prodigal Son. And we got a full season out of them, which was nice. And it just ended, and it stayed in my top viewing pleasures all year.
Great.
Surprisingly, I think it was a really good mystery that they kept going, and not it didn't falter. I mean, there was a time in the middle there where Michael Sheen wasn't showing up as much. And again, that's really the reason I'm showing up, even though Tom Payne, who was on Walking Dead, he's the main guy. I enjoy him. Everyone's really good in it. But it was really this mystery about Michael Sheen, who was a serial killer, and this relationship between him and his kids, knowing he was a serial killer, all this stuff. It was just very interesting. And even towards the end, when we kind of solved one mystery, another little one popped up, and Dermot Mulroney was on. It was good. And it ended in a really cool way that, again, I don't know what's happening with the upfronts that normally happen next week. I haven't seen or read anything about it. I assume something's going to happen. I mean, shows have to either get canceled or greenlit. I mean, well, there probably wasn't much of a pilot season, actually. So I honestly don't know what's happening. So I don't know if this show will get picked up or what. But I really enjoyed it, and even if it's a standalone one season, I'd still recommend someone to go back and watch it, especially during this quarantine time where we're not going to have anything new for the next 6 or 8 months. Go back and watch Prodigal Son. It's on Fox. It was enjoyable. I liked the storytelling of it, and Michael Sheen, I'll just watch anything.
Yeah, I was going to ask when you were saying, it's at the end of the season, it was still in your top viewing. I was going to ask how much of that is because of Michael Sheen.
He definitely came back in the last 6 or 7 episodes more, so that helps. But really, I mean, Lou Diamond Phillips is in it. It's all around good, and okay. I really liked the story they were telling. It was interesting.
So if he wasn't in it, you'd still.
I don't know. I don't know if I would have given it a shot.
Okay.
If it weren't for him.
Yeah, that's fair.
So yeah. So I would say check it out on Fox and see what you think.
Okay.
We're going to get into Afterlife now.
Okay.
Here we go, everyone. So I know we spoke about Afterlife after the first season on here.
Mm-hmm.
It's on Netflix. This is Ricky Gervais's show. He writes and directs every single episode. There are only 6 half-hour episodes in the first season, and we got the same with the second.
Mm-hmm.
If you guys remember, which you probably don't, we both loved this show
with a capital L,
and we are going to get into how much we loved it. But we did rewatch the first season the week before, and then last Friday when it came out, we watched the entire second season. It only takes 3 hours.
Yeah,
easy to do. But after the first season, both of us were kind of like, "Oh, that was perfect." Yeah. We don't need a second one. Yep. And even when we rewatched it last week and we got to the end, we both go, we both said this, we both said, this is going to be tough. He better get it right, because we were both completely satisfied with it just being one season.
We were both really nervous about the second season because the first season was so good and was perfect. I thought it was just perfect. And I've never felt a show has been perfect before. So this is, that was really something. And to know a second season was coming was, a double-edged sword. Yes, another season.
Right.
But it can't possibly be as good as the first. Right? How bad is it going to be? It's kind of the feeling that kind of crept in.
Because normally, like I was just saying before, they try to tack on these second seasons to shows that, just work as one. Mm-hmm. And they don't get it right. But I said, we have to trust in Ricky Gervais.
Well,
we have to trust that this is his thing and he's going to figure this out and get it right.
Knowing that he was in full control, that he's a director, writer.
Right.
Everything, it's his.
Right.
Knowing that there was a second season coming out, it was like, okay, it's got to be, if it's good enough for him, it's got to be good enough for me.
Right.
Right.
Yeah. And I think, so let's just back up and explain the show. Ricky plays Tony. Tony has lost his wife, Lisa, within the last year, and he's grieving. And that's kind of the show. It doesn't sound great, but basically he is grieving in a way where he cannot imagine life without Lisa, and he has decided that he's just going to speak his mind, and he's going to do whatever he wants, everyone else be damned, and he's going to kill himself at some point.
Yeah, when we meet him, he doesn't want to live.
Right. And so, throughout the first season, he comes around to thinking, well, maybe there's more to this. Maybe I should be at least treating the people who treat me well, treat them well back. And he's living kind of for his dog. He's living for his dad who has Alzheimer's and is living in a home. And he keeps saying, I still have that thing to fall back on, that I can kill myself whenever I want. And so he starts kind of trying to be nicer to people. He finds interest in a nurse at his dad's nursing home. And when we leave the first season, the two of them are finally going to go and get like a coffee or whatever.
Yeah.
You know, it feels hopeful at the end of the first season. That was my only issue with it, was that it felt a little too hopeful for what we had been through. But that's okay because we got the second season. So that's kind of the plot of the show.
Yep.
And when we get into the second season, it's pretty much the same. You know, grief doesn't just go away. It doesn't go away because you meet someone else. It doesn't go away because you decide it should. You know, everyone grieves in their own way, which I know is a stereotypical thing to say, but it's true. And this is the way that Ricky pictured, you know, this character to do it. And it's really hard. But I'm making it sound so like forlorn, but it's not, it is, but it's not in the show. It is. And John said before, it's perfect. I have used that phrase with this show since day one. It is a perfect show. The way he has established the characters, the way he established his wife, Lisa, we watch her through videos that she's left behind for Tony. So we get to see Tony through her eyes and who he was and what he's capable of. It's perfect because then you get to root for him because you know that's what she wanted. We see him interact with different people and he's so kind to some people that others don't pay any attention to. You know, he's got a brother-in-law, he's got a nephew. He has a friend that he met at the cemetery that he talks to, and he gets to the point in this season where he's faking it. You know, he's being nice to people out, but he's still in so much pain underneath. And he says that I'm faking it. I'm putting it on for everyone else, but inside I'm in so much pain and I still just want to die. And I think that's what a lot of people do because again, you get so tired of the looks or the the different things that people say and do to someone who's grieving. So you just go, you know what, I'm just going to put on the face while I'm out there, and at home I'll be, you know, do what I want to do. Yeah.
So what the second season did was Studio Dog. What the second season did was kind of pull back the curtain on where you thought he was after the first season. Right. You know, you thought, okay, he's come around. And when you heard about the second season, it's like, okay, it's all up from here. But really what you find out is exactly that. He's putting on a facade. Right. Or a facade if you come from a different part of the world. And he's, you know, he's still hurting, if not, you know, he might be hurting even more than the first season. But he is making an effort to be nice to people. And does crack sometimes, but... Well, it's kind of the woman, and I can't think of her name, that he sits with on the park bench in the cemetery, becomes kind of his conscience. And she says to him at one point, we're here only to make other people's lives better while we're here. And then we're done. And it kind of sticks with him of, oh, I'm not here just for myself. You know, that is really kind of what we're supposed to do. And it helps him when he's outside of his house. It helps him that he can help others. I think he enjoys that. But he can't help it either. You know, in every conversation he sits and has with someone, it comes up and he starts crying. And but that's normal. I mean, that's the thing is all of this feels so right. Yes. Yeah. And he doesn't sugarcoat things. No. So when he's in a conversation and it turns or somebody reminds him of something. Right. It comes out. Right. It is what it is. Yeah. And it just kind of, but it comes out in the best way. In the most beautiful way. Yeah. I mean, to witness someone who just loved his wife so much
and we know this happens every day. It's just normally in these movies, it is about just finding the next person. And then you're so happy that they found someone and that's it. Or they have kids. And so life has to go on because you have to take care of your kids and you don't get the time to live in this kind of, spiral that he gets to live in.
Right.
She was his life. And that's why called Afterlife. This is his afterlife of what he considered. He already had his life. And now what is he supposed to do the rest of this time?
Inflection is everything, because when I first saw the title of the show, I was like, Afterlife. And it's really afterlife.
Right.
Right? And you look at it that way and it's like, yeah, he's basically dead and trying to come back.
Or not. I mean, that's kind of
the point. And he may not.
He doesn't see that there can ever be anything else.
Right.
And even the nurse is still there. She wants a relationship with him. And he keeps saying, I can't, I'm not ready. He wants to see her. He enjoys her company, but he is still so in love with Lisa that there's just not that room there yet.
Yeah, he wants to be with her, but only in a way that's not unfaithful to his wife.
Exactly.
Yeah,
exactly.
which is, just the way it's done and the way it comes across, it is really sweet.
It's the most it's just a perfect blend. Again, you laugh because again, Ricky has the best way of bringing in a group of people that are funny. And funny to make fun of in a lot of ways.
Yeah.
And so you laugh at these people, but then you also love them all so much. They're so endearing. And I'll tell you, when Ricky does those little moments of having a laugh at someone and he smiles in this show, just that smile coming out of his character, Tony, it does something to me physically because again, we're watching this man who's been in so much pain. So when he gets those moments of levity and that that's his real self coming out for a moment, it really physically changes me. Like, oh my gosh, there he is. And then it'll fleet again and be gone. But I know I'm making it sound like it's sad. It's not. You will cry a lot, but you will also laugh and giggle and feel so much in your heart. Your heart will just get so warm. It is the perfect show.
Yeah. If you like Ricky Gervais at all, this is Ricky at his absolute best.
Yeah.
In all forms, not just comedic.
Right.
It turns out he is capable of making you feel the whole range of emotions. I mean,
we knew that.
Well, people who see his stand-up or see him host the Golden Globes or whatever, he's very one-dimensional in that. So there are a lot of people in this world that think, he's a funny man and he's rude and all that stuff. Okay. What I'm saying is, if you give him a chance, you will be shocked at his depth. And for me, I was blown away that, I don't watch a ton of television. I certainly don't watch as much as you, but I've seen enough shows and movies and that sort of thing to have been through the whole range of emotion a lot. But I was blown away at how this one guy, Ricky Gervais, just ran me through the gamut time after time after time. In every episode, every half-hour episode, I was all over the place several times. Yeah. And he's just made me feel things that I don't think I've really felt before watching a show. And that's incredible when you think, Ricky Gervais comedian. That's my point. That's what I'm saying. Okay. Give him a chance, and he's...
Well, again, for me, I think in Invention of Lying, he tears me up when he's saying goodbye to his mom. That movie that he wrote, and then the other one, the Ghost Town, kills me. I cry every time in that movie. So, he has, if you step away from the stand-up or whatever, and you've paid attention to his actual work, he has that ability, and he's shown us that before. But this show is, it should be used as a tool in teaching how to write, because like I said, the presence of Lisa is so important. The presence of the other misfits in his office is super important. The fact that he does have some family is important. The meeting of the new woman and that relationship is so lovely. It's built and structured in such a way, and in the fact that basically 3 hours he can give us so much in a season is it really should be taught, because it's perfection in my book. I just, and the dog,
you can't overlook the dog. I was just going to bring that up.
Yeah, that is his lifeline.
Yeah.
And
the dog has saved his life several times.
Yeah, and again, by the end of the second season, the last scene is one of the talk about turning on a dime. The hardest thing if you weren't in the room, I would have been so loud in my sobbing. I would have been so audible. I probably would have let out a few death cries, because it was so hard to watch. And then in a split second, we had to change. We had to. He made us change those emotions immediately. It was amazing. But I just
he definitely took us to the edge on that.
It was perfect. But I don't want to give away what happened. So, I am all for a third season. We shouldn't have doubted that he could pull it off. So we will see what happens.
Look, we've been burned before by shows we really, really loved.
Yeah.
And okay, the next season come back, it's going to be the final one, or we love the first one and there's going to be a second one. And then you watch it and you're like, yeah.
Yeah.
So
you never know.
You never know.
Now we know.
All faith in Ricky Gervais.
Right. Yeah. So it's on Netflix. Like we said, it's 3 hours per season. So you got 6 hours in this quarantine. What else are you doing?
Yeah.
Go and watch it. Just have tissues and feel the warmth surrounding you.
Yeah. There are some shows in my past that I love, I just love.
Yeah. Like he watches Magnum PI all week.
No, I wouldn't say I love Magnum PI.
Then why do you watch it?
Because it's, nostalgia, that sort of thing, whatever. Anyway, I absolutely love this show. This is the best show I've ever watched. And I know that's a superlative that you really shouldn't throw out there casually, and I'm not. It just is. It really is.
Yeah.
It's perfect.
I agree.
Yeah. I can't overstate it. It's amazing.
Yeah. Okay. So that's on Netflix.
Yes.
That wasn't so bad. That wasn't such a long conversation.
Well, it's a short show and it's, it's...
All you can say is just go watch it.
Yeah, it's something you really have to experience for yourself because you really can't relay it to somebody.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. So also this week, I just wanted to touch on it, that Parks and Rec came back with a special. I just want to touch on it real quick because they raised about $3 million.
Oh, great.
For Feeding America. And it was, I hate to use the word after it was perfect. It was. For someone who's a fan of Parks and Recreation, they did a special that was all from everyone's home. But they came up with, it was set during the quarantine, so of course everyone's home, and so and Leslie Knope had set up a phone tree so that every day everyone could check in with each other to make sure that they're doing okay, and that's how this was set up. And we got to check in with everyone, and the way that they came up with what people were doing, or especially how the couples were separated, Chris Pratt's character, who's adult, is separate from Aubrey Plaza's character. And so, they're like, why are you guys calling us from different places or whatever? And Chris Pratt, he's like, well, I locked myself in the shed, and, and he had been there for days. And, and so it was like little things like that they came up with was just perfect. But we checked in with all the main characters, which was lovely. But then they brought in all of the side characters that we've known. So Paul Rudd was on. They brought in everyone. And just when you thought, like, oh, okay, that was everyone, the next one, oh yeah, of course we had to check in with this person or whatever.
Right.
Even Megan Mullally, who played Nick Offerman's ex-wife, and she was this horrible person for him, Tammy, and they did a funny thing because, of course, Nick and Megan are married. And so, of course, they're together. So when Ron Swanson is talking and he's in his shed, woodworking shed and stuff, the next time they check in with him, he pans the camera over and Megan Mullally's all tied up. He's like, we found her in the woods. She was trying to get to me again, and all this stuff. So it was like, it was all just perfect. And then at the very end, they did a call with all of them on, and Chris Pratt started the song Lil Sebastian, which is a big deal if you know the show, and everyone just started singing Lil Sebastian, and I teared up. It was so much fun, and I didn't realize it had been so long since that show ended. I guess it was like 5 years ago, which is weird. I don't really believe that, but someone on there said that. Maybe it was 5 years since. Anyway, so it was just lovely, and I'm so glad that they did that. And the way that some of these shows, even the late night shows, are figuring out how to do this from home, to see them come up with such a really, like SNL, they've done 2 shows now from home. Both episodes were really great. I really enjoyed them. So I love seeing how Parks and Rec could even just kind of do a reunion without it even being a real reunion. It was lovely.
Good.
So again, if anyone missed it, I'm sure it's on Hulu or something like that, and you can check it out. It's totally worth it.
Great.
Okay, so just a couple more shows that I want to talk about that I've started that I want to just recommend or say, hey, it's out. And since we're all quarantined, you can check them out over the next couple weeks. First one is Upload. It's on Amazon Prime. This stars Robbie Amell. This is actually a Greg Daniels show. So Greg Daniels created Parks and Rec and The Office and all that. So this is one of his creations. I'm halfway through the season. It's actually really interesting. It's set 13 years from now in 2033, where they've figured out if you die, instead of dying, you could be uploaded. And so they upload your memories and everything to this virtual world. And you can still interact with the living world by phone calls, and the living world can become an avatar and come in and visit you and, all this stuff. It's very interesting, but there's a whole little twist going on with like this kind of, it turns out maybe he was murdered and all that. And so it's very cool. There's very interesting little things here. It's not as good as like The Good Place, where that was just, again, beyond clever and smart. There aren't a lot of those little things being dropped around, but every once in a while there's a little thing where it's like, oh, that's kind of cute, whatever.
Okay.
But I'm enjoying it, so I just wanted to put it out there. It's called Upload on Amazon Prime.
Okay.
The next is Defending Jacob. This is on Apple TV Plus. This is Chris Evans, so that's all you need to know. Just go watch it. No. Chris Evans, Michelle Dockery, Lady Mary, but she's great. So this is a show where a boy turns up murdered in a local park, and their son ends up being the prime suspect. And so they're trying to figure out how to clear his name, obviously. But we're also kind of in a weird position where we don't know if he did it or not. They kind of set it up like he didn't, but then you start to find stuff out about him that maybe.
Sure.
So there's only been 4 episodes out. The episodes come out every Friday, so that's something you can definitely catch up on with Apple TV. Defending Jacob, and Chris Evans is just amazing in it. The next show is called Trying on Amazon Prime. I have not started this yet. It looks so funny. It's a British show about a couple that's trying to get pregnant and all the little quirks that come with that. It looks really funny. So I'm definitely going to check that out over the next week.
Right.
The next one is called Hollywood. This is Ryan Murphy's latest series on Netflix. Patty LuPone, all his normal cast of characters are in it. I started the first episode. I'm only through the first episode. And it's interesting. It's set back I actually don't know the exact year. I think it was 57 or something maybe, in Hollywood, and just kind of what was going on in Hollywood back then. It could be earlier than that, actually, because I think it's right after the war. So it could be 40.
I think 50. It's in the 40s.
Yeah.
Late 40s.
And then a show that we started on Disney Plus called Prop Culture.
Oh, man.
This was really cool. It's a guy who is into collecting movie props and artifacts and stuff. And each episode, he's kind of diving into a different movie and going around and looking at props that are available or trying to find props that aren't available. So we watched the first two. It was Mary Poppins was the first one, and the second one was Tron.
Yep.
That was all we watched, right? Oh, no, and Nightmare Before Christmas was the third one.
Oh, yeah, we watched 3.
Yeah. So he goes and he finds people who have these props, or he goes straight to the Walt Disney Archives. I mean, in the Mary Poppins one, he went into Walt Disney's office on the lot, and Richard Sherman was there playing the piano, mind blown. It was insane.
Yeah, it was.
Yeah. With, what's his face? Who plays Richard Sherman in the movie?
Schwartzman.
Yeah, Jason Schwartzman.
Yeah.
So it was like,
it was very meta.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But anyway, it's a lot of fun, huh?
Oh, I love this show, and I really like this guy.
Yeah.
When we
Daniel
Lanigan.
Yeah.
When we first started watching, I was afraid that it's a collector, and it's all about the value and the worth and that sort of thing.
Right.
And it turns out this guy has such an appreciation for history.
He's a fan.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's not about the monetary value. It's about the sentimental value and what it means to fans,
right?
And the people involved, because a lot of the show, it turns out, is him taking pieces to people who
were in the
movies
yeah.
and who used the prop or wore the jacket or the hat or whatever the case is.
Yeah.
And just to see their reactions and the stories they can tell, and oh man, I'm enjoying the show immensely.
Yeah, it's great. I think the future episodes, I mean, they're all on Disney Plus now, so you can watch them all. There's Pirates.
Mm-hmm.
What else was there?
Oh gosh, I don't remember.
No, I don't remember either.
I don't.
But it's a lot of fun. The shows are only like a half hour.
Yeah.
So it's really cool if you're a fan and you really like that stuff.
Yeah.
I mean, again, just revisiting so much of it is a huge deal.
And the show is so good, and I'm enjoying watching this guy, that it doesn't matter what the episode is about. Whatever movie, doesn't matter to me whether I've seen it, know it, care about it.
Yeah, because here's a horrible thing. Neither one of us has seen Tron.
Right.
But it didn't matter. It was
Totally
very enjoyable anyways.
Yeah.
I still don't want to go see it. But but then Nightmare Before Christmas, which you haven't seen,
right.
I said, has it made you want to see it at all? No, but that's okay. Because again, you can just appreciate the craftsmanship. And they really do go in the craftsmanship of Nightmare Before Christmas, which is insane. So, so it's a really good show. Again, Prop Culture on Disney Plus.
Yeah.
I think there's like 8 episodes.
8 or 9. Yeah. Highly, highly recommended.
Yay.
Yes.
Highly.
I give it 5.5 stars.
Oh my goodness.
Yes.
What do you give Afterlife?
All of them. Yeah.
Okay. All right. So that's everything.
Oh, wow. Okay.
So now let's talk about Woody Harrelson.
Okay.
This was interesting for me because I feel like there's 2 sides to his coin, right? There's like all the serious stuff he's done, which of course he's really great in. And then there's the fun stuff that I just enjoy. Mm-hmm. So I stuck to the fun stuff because that's the stuff I watch over and over and over again instead of picking like his really serious stuff.
Okay. This will be interesting what you consider his fun stuff, because we may have a couple things in here. Anyway, I'll go ahead and get started.
Yes.
So for movies I love.
Yes.
Or TV series.
Yes.
Turns out.
Especially for him. Yeah.
Yeah. So I got it down to 2 actually.
Okay.
Cheers.
Yes.
I liked Cheers. I wouldn't say I loved Cheers.
Seriously?
It's a fine line. I mean, I really, really liked it. I enjoyed it. I don't watch. If I loved it, I go back and watch reruns now, and I don't. So, what does that say?
I don't think it's on anywhere.
No,
but it's
streaming.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, you don't stream anything.
That's true. So,
case closed.
Yeah. And the second is The Hunger Games.
Yes.
I really love his character in the Hunger Games.
Yeah. I put Hunger Games under here too. Because there's you can't imagine anyone else doing that.
No.
Yeah.
And his character he's so important to Kat.
Right.
That, you really, you can't imagine him not being in it now.
Right.
Right. Because he's so integral to her.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, and I love him. He's perfect for it. Can't imagine it with anybody else.
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay. So I have Hunger Games and Zombieland. And
Yeah.
that also includes Double Tap now too. I've watched the second one now 5 times or so, and I love it. I just love the second one. But yeah, both those movies are just so much fun. Love them, and he is hysterical.
Yeah, he's the best.
Yeah.
Okay.
Movies you like?
So I actually put Zombieland. It could be Zombieland or Double Tap. Look,
You haven't seen Double Tap?
I've seen parts of it. I don't need to see it really to know that
Yeah,
he's
because
great.
I can't get you to watch it. So I'm shocked that Zombieland's on here because I can never get you to watch even Zombieland.
I've watched it.
I think you did, but
And he was really good.
okay.
I liked him in it.
Okay.
Can I go on?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Kingpin.
Which you haven't seen.
I have seen it. You're thinking The Big Lebowski. I have not seen The Big Lebowski. I've seen Kingpin.
Okay. I'm gonna have to check the tape on that.
Okay, that's fine.
Okay.
And White Man Can't Jump.
Okay.
Yeah, classic.
I have White Man Can't Jump under my embarrassed I haven't seen because I've never
Really?
seen it. Yeah.
Huh.
Yeah.
I don't remember much about it because it's been so long, but I know I liked it, and I liked him in it.
Yeah. I mean, it seemed like everyone loved it. So
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
So I used I used all the TV shows. So Cheers, his Nathan on Will and Grace is some of the best. And True Detective, his series with Matthew McConaughey, the first season of True Detective was the best, and he was just amazing.
Yeah, no, I was thinking about that. I haven't seen that, but everything I've heard about it and just knowing, look, Woody Harrelson and Matthew McConaughey, if you have those two in a season of something and then you're thinking about doing another one without them, just probably don't. No disrespect to Vince Vaughn and who did the third season?
I don't remember third or fourth or whatever, but the last one was Mahershala Ali, and that season was really good.
Well, yeah, okay.
You haven't seen them, so you can't really see.
I haven't, but I've.
But yeah, it went downhill and then it came back up again.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. Okay. Movies you hate?
Hate is too strong a word. I don't hate it, but I don't like it. I didn't care for it. Natural Born Killers.
Oh.
Yeah, and it's one of the ones he's known for.
Well, because it's fantastic.
Yeah.
What's interesting, though, that I didn't know until recently, the podcast is starting sometime this month. I have to look it up. There's a new podcast coming out called Son of a Killer, and Woody Harrelson's dad was a contract killer. And before Woody even started on Cheers, his dad had been caught and was put into prison.
And convicted, yeah.
Yeah. I think he was only convicted of 7 killings, but I guess there's probably more. And so this podcast is going to jump into his dad and what he did and all that sort of stuff, which is very interesting then to, think of Woody having to kind of, I mean, again, not the same thing at all, but, very interesting.
Yeah.
So, but Natural Born Killers is a good one.
Yeah.
Great.
Yep.
Under hate, I put It's Not 'Cause of Him, and I honestly don't even remember him in it. The 3 billboards outside Ebbing, whatever. I did not like that movie at all. I know it won everything, which, whatever, agree to disagree. But yeah, I didn't like that movie.
Yeah, okay.
Secretly Love.
His Nathan on Will and Grace.
Oh, yeah.
Because,
perfect.
I didn't watch Will and Grace, but I've seen, because you watch it or I come in on it, that sort of thing. The episodes with him in it are, ones I'll sit and watch with you.
Yeah.
Because, he's great in it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
For sure.
Yeah.
I have the prize winner of Defiance, Ohio. If you haven't seen this movie, you need to find it and see it. It's him and Julianne Moore, and it's based on a true story. They're married. It's set in the 50s, and Julianne Moore is a super smart woman that enters all these. Back then in the 50s, they had contests all the time, and you could enter and win stuff, and she did that and would win everything. And he was meant to be a singer, and he got in a car accident, his voice was ruined, and so he was just kind of a drunk and could barely support his family, and they had all these kids. And anyway, it's a very, I love the movie. I've watched it many times, and he's he's good in, I mean, there's nothing you can say wrong about him. He's good in everything he does. So that sounds repetitive to just say, oh, he's good in it. But he is. And he brings something to that character where you feel for him, even though he's horrible to her and, you know, all of that. So it's tough. But
Okay.
And then my second one here is The Highwayman, which is a Netflix movie. It just came out last year. Him and Kevin Costner. And this is the true story of the highwaymen who brought down
the Texas Rangers.
Bonnie and Clyde. Yeah.
Yeah.
And it was just fantastic. I went into this not even expecting to finish it. And not only did I finish it, I loved it. And watching him and Kevin Costner together was genius that I never would have thought either. So, yeah, love that.
Okay.
Okay. Embarrassed you haven't seen?
The Highwayman.
Okay.
Yeah.
And like I said, mine was White Men Can't Jump.
Yeah.
So,
okay.
yeah. And adding to your watch list?
I'm not a big fan of war movies, but I think I'm adding The Thin Red Line. Because going through this, I read the synopsis and I saw who else was in it, and I'm like, holy cow.
Yeah.
Holy jeez.
Yeah, I never saw it because I don't like war movies.
Yeah, I don't really either, but...
All right, so I've got a ton then that we didn't cover on my honorable mentions. First is Wildcats. That's one of my favorite movies of Goldie Hawn's. She's the football, and he's one of the football players. He's he's playing a high school kid. Love it. First time I ever saw him.
Okay.
Indecent Proposal, obviously classic. The Cowboy Way, him and Kiefer Sutherland. When I was in high school, I loved that movie. I don't know why. I just watched it.
Okay.
Natural Born Killers, you said. Kingpin, of course. People versus Larry Flint.
Yeah.
That's one that I've probably only seen like 3 times or so, but he's great in it. Ed TV. I'm surprised you didn't put Ed TV anywhere. You love that movie.
I do. I guess I didn't. I saw it and I thought it would go on my list somewhere, and by the time I finished my list, it wasn't on.
Which again, him and Matthew McConaughey.
Yeah, it could have been. Yeah, that could have been on here.
Yeah,
easily on Like or Love.
Prairie Home Companion. I just watched the other day. Him and John C. Reilly together. Really great. No Country for Old Men. Now You See Me. I love his character.
Yeah.
Now You See Me.
Yeah.
And this past season, he's been playing Joe Biden on SNL, and it's been hysterical. So I just wanted to bring that up as well.
Well, that's probably going to get more interesting here.
Well, yeah, I don't know who's doing what now, but yeah. So that's Woody Harrelson.
Yeah.
And there's tons. I mean, there's so many movies on there that I haven't seen, like that I know are just are meant to be good movies, you know, that people talk about all the time.
Sure. Yeah.
I couldn't believe how many were in there that I was like, oh, didn't see that one. So what are you going to do?
Yeah. Go see him.
All right, everyone. Oh, one big announcement. We are thinking of doing this podcast also on YouTube. So we're kind of in the works of putting that together. It may work, it may not. But you know, we'll see how we can pull this together. But sometime in the next month or so, we might get a trial one out there and see what people think.
Yeah.
Just another way to I don't know, be bored. Is this boring?
Yeah.
It's really boring.
We're bored. I don't mean with this. I just mean in general.
Oh.
So that's why we're trying. Probably try it.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're bored.
Exactly. Okay.
And we apologize in advance. So, you know.
Well, yeah.
Anyway.
Okay, so that's that. I hope everyone continues to stay healthy and safe and inside.
Yep.
Even though places are opening up, stay home.
Keep your masks on.
Yes. All right. Until next time, I'll be watching my stories.
Thanks, everybody.
Thanks. Bye.